Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and in this video, I will be showing you how to create a project plan or a task manager inside of Smartsheet. I will walk you through the entire process step by step, from creating columns to manage the data and tasks that you want to track, how you can add these tasks, set a start and end date, assign team members to this task, keep up to date with the status, and add any other columns that you may want to add. So if you are looking to create a project plan or a task manager inside of Smartsheet, this video will show you everything that you need to know. So I just created a brand new Smartsheet account so that I am starting at the same point as you, and there is nothing in here. If I go to my files, you can see there is nothing in here. So we are starting at the same point. And I will be able to walk you through step by step and show you how we can build this project plan. Now, the first thing that we need to do is just go down to the browse section right here. And you need to decide if you are building this by yourself, if this is a solo project, or if you are going to be working on this with a team. If this is solo, if this is just you working on the project, then we want to create a sheet. So go into Sheets right here and click on this. Or alternatively, if you are building this with a team, then we want to go into workspaces and we want to create a workspace. The functionality between sheets and workspaces are the exact same. Everything works in the exact same way. The only difference is that with workspaces, it's just easier to share and easier to add team members. So all we have to do is click on create in this top right corner. And then if we are in workspaces building this with a team, then we want to create a workspace right here. Or alternatively, if you are building this yourself in Sheets, then we just go to Sheets and then create a folder right here. Now I'm going to create a workspace in this example. So I go to workspaces, click on workspace. And in here, this is essentially going to be the folder where everything that we create inside of this task manager is going to be stored. So in this example, I'm just going to call this folder or workspace GeForce North, the company name. And then we can click on OK. Just like that, you should now have your workspace or your folder created. Once you have that created, we can then click into the folder or workspace. As you can see, I am now inside of GeForce North. And what we are going to do from here is go up to create in this top right corner and then choose the grid option. So we click into grid and then we can now name the sheet. And this is going to be the main data hub, the main task manager that we are going to create. So we can name the sheet right here. And in this example, I'm going to say that I am doing a home renovation for a client. So let's just say this client is called Apples. So we can say Apples Home Renovation Task Manager. That's what I'm going to call my sheet. Once you have named your sheet, we can then click on OK. And then just like that, your sheet is now going to be created. So we can now go ahead and click into this task manager. And as soon as we load in, we will be taken over to this page. From left to right, these are called columns. And then going down from top to bottom, these are called rows. So we have columns and then we have rows. So the first thing that we want to do inside of this task manager is rename these columns and plot in the main categories that we want to be tracking. Now I'm going to plot in and show you the main ones that are pretty much necessary in any type of project plan, but feel free to ignore some of them if you don't want to add them in. And you can even add additional ones, and I will show you how to do that as well. So what we can do is start renaming these columns. To do this, we just want to click into this first column, and then we are going to call this task name. This column type, because this is the primary column, is always going to be a text and number. So this is why we name this to task name. And then all of the tasks that we have in this task manager, they will be named in here. So we can click on OK, and that's going to rename that column. Then the second column that I like to create is going to be a status column. And this is where we can show the status of the task. So if this is to do, if this is in progress, if this is under review or complete, we can show this all right here. So we have status, and then we can go down to the column type, and we want to change this to a drop-down list. So select the drop-down list right here. And then under values, we can input all of the values that we want to have for status. So in here, I'm going to put to do. Then we want to enter into another line. And the reason that we do this is to differentiate these values. So we can say to do, in progress, next line, under review, and then next line, complete. From here, we can then click on OK. And just like that, we have now created this second column. So far, we can input the task name and then track the status of that task. If you are creating this with a team, then a very helpful column right here is going to be assigned to, so that we can assign different tasks to different people. If you are using this solo, then just disregard this column, leave this blank for now. But if we are going for assigned to, then we want to click on the column type, and from here we want to set this to a contact list. Then we can click on OK right here. The next two columns that are going to be very important for any task manager is going to be a start date and an end date. So let's go to column 4 right here, and we can set this to start date. And then for the column type, we want to have this as a date, and then click on OK. And then for column 5, we can go in and put this as end date. And then once again, column type, date, and OK. And then the final crucial column that any task manager should have is a percentage complete. So what we are going to do is go to column 6, percentage complete, just like that. And the way that we actually set this up is slightly different, because you will notice that from here, there's no way that we can actually set this up as a percentage. We need to do this in a different way. So just leave this as text and number, and then we can click on OK. And then the first thing that we are going to do is click on this entire column right here. So the entire column is highlighted. Then we want to click on these 3 dots in the top right corner and set this as a percentage. So the percentage format is now selected. Then the second thing that we want to do is right click into this and then go down to edit project settings right here. And then we want to go to percentage complete column and set this to percentage complete. Then we can click on OK. And that is all now set up. Now, you might have some additional columns that you want to track here. So if you do want to set these up, then all we have to do is we can go to any of these columns right here. I'm just going to go to the last, right click on this, and then you can see we can insert column left or we can insert column right. So if I insert a column right, it's going to add a new column on this right-hand side. And as an example, we might want to set an estimated cost. Just like that. So we have estimated cost. And once again, we can choose the column type. So we could go for text and number, click on OK, and that's going to be added in right there. And then if we have estimated cost, we might want to add a new one. So we add that right there. And then we can say actual cost. And then once again, set this to a text or a number. If you want to rearrange any of these columns, then all we have to do is go to the top of the column right here, where this turns to blue. And then we can drag and drop this wherever we want. So as an example, if I want to drag assigned to after the end date, I just click and drag this, and that is now going to switch around. So I'm just going to switch this back just like that. Perfect. So that is how we can set up the columns and add in the type of data that we want to track. So from here, we can now go in and we can start entering in the tasks and categories that we want to use. So there are essentially 2 ways of doing this. The first is the most basic. So we can just go in here and actually start adding the task name. So we could go in and we could just say we want to fit the kitchen. We want to choose couch. We want to repaint the walls, just like that. And then we have the task set up right here. We can just go along and fill out the rest of this information. But alternatively, a much better way to set this out is to actually create different categories and then create the tasks within the categories. So as an example, I could start creating some task categories right here, and I could say that this is the living room. And then a little bit further down, we can add rows, so it doesn't matter on the exact spacing, but we could add a living room, and then we could go ahead and after this, we can go for the kitchen. And then we could go for a bathroom, and then we could also go for a dining room. So we now have the categories added in, and from here, we can then go underneath the categories and start adding in the actual tasks. So for the living room, once again, we might want to choose couch, just like that. And this is a fantastic segue. So on Smartsheet, your changes don't auto-save. So make sure to just go ahead and click on this button to save the changes we have made so far. But then in the living room, so we choose couch, we can redecorate walls. We can make sure that we fit TV, and we can add lighting. So we now have all of these added in, but we can't really tell the difference between the category and the actual tasks within this. So what we are going to do is, first of all, we can go to the category, which is living room in this example, and bold this so that we get a little bit of an idea that this is the category. And then we want to go down and select the tasks within this. And from here, we can actually indent these. And watch what happened if I indent. So the reason I clicked and dragged is because rather than doing this one by one, so click and indent, we can click and drag to select all of these values. And then whatever we do is going to do this to all of these. So from here, I select all of the tasks, click on indent, and just like that, these are now indented, and we can basically collapse and expand this menu. And this is really going to help, especially when you have a lot of data on here, for overall organization of this sheet. Now, another thing that I like to do to really distinguish between the category and the tasks is add some color to this chart. So what we could do is we could select the entire row for where the category is and change this to a different cell background color. So we can go up to background color and maybe set this to like a blue color right here, and perfect. And then for these, maybe we want to set these to kind of like a gray. So we go in, we can set this to like a gray color right here, and awesome. We can now clearly differentiate between the category and the tasks within this. In this example, I have some blank spaces right here that I don't really need. So if you do have this, then we can just highlight these rows right here, right click, and then you can see we can delete the row. So we just click on delete row, and they are all going to be deleted. So now let's do the same for kitchen. Let's bold this and drag the rows right here. And we can once again set this to the same blue. And then we can now go down and add in the tasks that we want to do to this kitchen. So we can say fit refrigerator, replace countertops, and replace flooring. Then once again, all we are going to do is highlight these, indent them, and then we can turn this entire section, if we just drag this along, into this gray color right here. What you will also usually notice as soon as you start indenting, or even if you have a lot of text in here, that sometimes the text is going to get cut off. So this is replace countertops, but it's kind of cut off right here. If you do have this issue, then all we are going to do is click on the column where the text is cut off. So task name, some of the text is cut off right here. And then all we are going to do is click on this button right here to wrap. And just like that, all of the text is now going to fit in. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete these rows right here, select and delete rows. And then I'm just going to go along and color the chart and fill in the rest of the information. Perfect. We now have all of this created. We have these different categories that we can collapse down and expand at any time. And we can now see the tasks that we need to do for each of these categories. Now, we can even take this a step further and add subtasks and basically have categories within categories. So what I mean by this is for choose couch, we could show up exactly what we need to do in order to choose this couch. Now, you will notice that I don't have any space below. So what I need to do is click on the row beneath this and then right click, insert row, and that's going to insert a row right here. So for choose couch, we could say measure room for length. Then we want to add a new row right here. So measure room for length. And then we can just say order couch online. So we now have these right here. And once again, all we are going to do is use this indent tool. So I select both of these, indent. And as you can see, this is now collapsible. So we have these subtasks within this task. It's completely up to you how you set this up. But once again, we might want to add some different colors to differentiate between these. So the first thing I'm going to do is just bold this. Then maybe we can go to the category and make the text a little bit bigger. And then for the actual task, we might want to make this like a lighter shade of blue. So maybe something like this. Then we would do the same for the rest of these. So for the actual task, I'm just going to go in and set these all to the same shade of blue, just like this. And make these blue as well. And then we can also make these bold. So bold, 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 and bold. And then we can just go through and add in these subtasks. So the last one I will show you is redecorate the walls. So we can just go in, go beneath, right click and insert row. And then we can say choose color of paint. And we of course want to set this back to this gray color right here. Then once again, we can go insert row and then we will just say paint walls. Set this to the gray color. And then all we are going to do is highlight these, indent, and we now have this set up. Awesome. So that is how we can set up categories, tasks, and subtasks. Next, let's take a look at the status. Now, if you remember earlier on, we created some values right here. So because we created these, all we now have to do in this status column is click on this drop-down menu, and then we can choose from one of these statuses. So in this example, I'm just going to say that all of these are complete. So I would set these to complete right here. We need to go into here as well. complete, complete. And this entire section is complete. Then for the kitchen, we can say this is in progress, but we've actually fitted the refrigerator. So let's set that to complete as well. Then we can go down and say this is in progress and this is to do. So we just go down and we can set the status right here. So I'm going to say to do. So that is how we can enter the status right there. Nice and simple once we have set up those categories. Then we can go to assigned to, and once again, this is only going to be relevant if you are working with a team, if you have this column right here. But all we have to do to assign people to different tasks is click into this box right here. Then we click on this drop-down menu and we can add people into this Smartsheet. So we click on add new, and then all we have to do is enter in their name and email address to assign them to this task. So let's say this person is called Mark Smith. We can enter that in right there. And then once somebody has been added, they are actually added to this menu. So all we now have to do is select them from here. So you can choose whether you want to assign them to individual subtasks, but if they're assigned to the task, then that's fine anyway. So we will leave that for now. Then redecorate the walls is going to be Mark Smith. Fit the TV is going to be Mark, and add lighting is going to be Mark as well. Then for the kitchen, we might want to add somebody else. So we click on this drop-down menu, go back in, and let's say this is Harry Matthews. We can add that in right there. So we will just go down and add the person to this, and you get the idea. This is how we can assign people to these different tasks. So we now have all of that added in. We can then go to the start date, and in here we can choose the start date for each of these tasks. So let's say that we have the month of July to complete the living room. So we can set the start date to the 1st of July, and then we can go right here and set the end date to the 31st. And then for these subtasks, we can just go in and choose the start and end date for each of these. So we can click there. Let's say this is going to start on the 6th, and I want it to end on the 10th. Then Fit TV is the 10th to the 19th. And then add lighting is going to be from the 19th to the end of the month. We can set that up right there. So that's how we can add the start and end date. So we now have all of the dates added in right here. And then we can go to percentage complete, and we just enter in the percentage complete. So of course this is 100%. So we can enter 100% in right here. I'll just set all of these to 100% because these are complete. Then in progress, so we have one complete and one in progress. So let's maybe set this to like 40% right here. This is of course 100. Then we can say this is 60% complete and 0. And then the rest of these as they are to do, we'll set these to 0% complete. Then once again, estimated and actual cost are very easy. So we can just go ahead and enter these in right here. Perfect. So we have the estimated cost in right there. And to actually change this to a currency and pricing rather than just having a number, then we just want to go up here and then we can choose the currency in this top right corner. Awesome. So I just added in the actual cost right here. And then once again, we can just set this to a currency. Just like that. And then of course these are to do, so I'm not going to enter in an actual cost here. And just like that, that is how we can create and input the data into this task planner. Now what we can do from here, I just realized these colors are a little bit off, so I'll just go ahead and change these. Awesome. What we can do now is we can actually switch between different views. So as an example, right now we are in the grid view. This is where we want to input all of the data because it is by far the easiest. But what we can do is go up to grid view and choose between any of these views. So for example, I can go to the board view right here, and this is going to show me everything as a Kanban board. So by default, this is set to status. So I can see all of the tasks that are to do. I can see all of the tasks that are in progress, and I can see all of the tasks that are complete. So we can see these right here. If we want to drag them around even, we can. So let's say we actually replace the flooring. We can just drag this over. And that's going to be dragged into the in progress category. So I just moved replace flooring from to do to in progress. And if I now go back to the grid and we go to kitchen, replace flooring, we can see that was moved from to do into in progress. So that is the board view right there. We also have the timeline view. So this is where we can see a timeline of everything. So we can see what we have to do in July. This is the living room task. Then I can see all of the subtasks within this. August is going to be the kitchen. September, the bathroom and the subtasks, and then October, the dining room and the subtasks, and I can see them right there. We can also zoom into this. So if I want to view this by weeks, then we can zoom in, and see what I have to do over the month, and then the amount of time each subtask is set to take. We also have things like the Gantt view. So the Gantt view is kind of a combination between this timeline and grid. So if I go to Gantt right here, you can see this is going to add a Gantt chart to my grid. So in here, I can see the grid, I can make any changes that I need to. And then over here on the right-hand side, I can see a timeline of this. So once again, I can see if I scroll along here, living room is going to take me the entire month of July. And then I can see all of the different subtasks within this and how long they are going to take. This is going to update in real time. So with choose couch right here, if I change this from the 5th of July to the 10th, this line is going to expand as soon as I click on enter. As you can see, that's going to expand right there. So that is the Gantt view, and then the card view is not the best. In my opinion, it's just a worse version of the board view, so I never use this. But you can use the card view as well if you want to. And then finally, we have a calendar view, where in here we can change the calendar settings. So I can go in and I can either choose to display the date ranges using the start and end date. That's going to look like this, so I can see the start date for each of these. Or alternatively, I can go back into the settings and choose only the end date and see the due date for all of these different tasks. So those are the views right there. And the final thing that I'm going to show you in this tutorial is how we can create reports for this task planner. Now, reports are essentially going to filter the data, and you can choose to only see important information. So for example, I might want to create a report where I can only see the tasks that I have to do. I don't really care about these completed tasks, they are already complete. I only want to see what I need to do. So to create this report, you might have this panel on the left-hand side. Sometimes this shows up if we only have one thing in here, other times it doesn't. So in case you don't have this left-hand panel, we want to click back into Browse, then make sure you are in the right workspace or folder. And then from here, we can click on Create in this top right corner and go to Report. Then for this report, I only want to see my to-do tasks. So I'm going to title this To-Do Tasks Report, just like this. And then we can click on OK. And in here, this is now going to create that report. So we click in, and this is where we can build out the report. So we click on Get Started, and then we choose the main data sheet that we are going to be pulling this data from. Of course, that is going to be this sheet that we just created. So I can go into here and select that sheet. Next, we can choose the information and the data that we want to show here. And the order of this is going to be the order we select this right here. So I want to turn off sheet name. I don't want to see this. And the most important thing that we have here is of course going to be the status, because I want to see everything we have to do. Then we of course want to see things like the start date, the end date. These are very important. The percentage complete, and the actual and estimated cost, and also who these are assigned to. We can choose these right there. And as you can see, as I add these in, they are going to be added into this chart. Then we click on Next, and in here, this is where we can actually filter through and set the search criteria that we want. So I only want to see things that are to do. So in here, I'm going to go to Select Field and select the status. So the status field is what I want to filter by. And then I want things that only contain to do. So from this option, I can say contains to do. And then as soon as I click on apply, just like that, I can only see my to-do tasks. So this makes it very easy. We should have this left-hand panel. Now you have two things in here to easily switch back between the main grid and the main sheet that we are working on and any reports that we set up here. So I can now easily see what tasks I have to do. Just to show you this one more time, we might want to filter by only things that are assigned to certain people. So Mark Smith, I want to see only things that are assigned to Mark. So once again, we can click on Create and create a report. We want to go for a row report. And then in here, we are once again going to select the main data sheet that we are using, just like that. We can then fill in the data that we want to see. So this time, the first thing that I want to see is who this is assigned to. And then we can add the rest of this right here. So the status, the percentage complete, the start and end date, the estimated cost, and the actual cost. Awesome. Then select field. We are going for assigned to this time. So assigned to contains Mark Smith and apply. And just like that, we are now only going to see the tasks that are assigned to Mark Smith. So just like that, you are now able to create your own beautiful task planner with categories, status, who this is assigned to. We can track dates, we can track the percentage complete, and then we can also set up reports. So this is untitled. I'm just going to go in and say assigned to Mark report. But as I was saying, we now have this set up. We have created reports for each of these options. If you're wondering why this isn't updated, we can just refresh and then that is going to update. We can create reports. We can see everything that we need to see. We can switch between these views at the top. So that is how you can create a project plan inside of Smartsheet. If you found this video valuable, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.